Hi, my name is Andrew Hicks with Touchpoint Medical, and what I'm going to be showing you today is a short demonstration at a high level of the medDispense C series unit. I'm going to be moving the camera in and out so you can see the actual drawers as well as you can see the software. So let me jump into it and show you the unit. Let me move my camera a little closer here. So what you're looking at here is the main sign-on screen of the unit. As it says on the screen, you touch screen to log on. It comes standard with a fingerprint scanner. You would touch that screen. I would put my finger on there. It recognizes that as me and allows me into the system. We also have other ways that you can sign on. You could sign on with a username and password and different combinations of those as well. So when I first sign onto the screen, I'm in here as a director of pharmacy. So it takes me to the main menu and you can see all the different options here, patient care, item management, users reporting, etc. Let's talk about nursing first. So what nursing is going to see, they're going to go directly to the retrieve screen. What it will show there are some tabs up at the top. My patients are patients that that nurse has given a medication to previously. Station patients are ICU, ER, for example, and global would be everybody in the whole facility. Now, how these patients get in here typically is through an interface with the pharmacy software or the hospital information system, something like that. You could add patients locally if you wanted to as well, but 99% of the time they come in through an interface. So if you want to give a medication to a patient, you just touch their name. I touched Patricia Adams in this case. It will show that patient's profile. If you look at the top, there are some filter buttons up there where you can filter that profile. Right now, we're just looking at the entire profile. You can see there are some colors in here. The blue items are things that have been pulled from this machine already. Green is either a new or a changed order. And if it says not on station in the gray or no color here, as you would think, it's not in this particular machine. Now, if you have multiple machines, they all talk to each other, so they are aware of what is in the other machine. So if you, for example, touch on that Haldol there, it will tell you if it's in another machine in the facility. Again, where the orders in here come from is through that interface with the pharmacy software vendor. So we receive those orders in real time from the pharmacy system. If I want to pick some medications, I would just touch them. So if I want acetaminophen here, we'll give one of those. Something else here. I'm just going to choose 3 items just so you can see 3 different types of drawers that we offer. And I'll try to move the camera a little bit closer as these drawers open. So I've queued up my 3 medications over here on the left side of the screen. I hit press to retrieve items. The first drawer would pop open. This is what we call a linear drawer. So in these linear drawers, there are little drawer dividers that you can set up in the drawer, and these snap in and out. So you can divide these drawers up. There's a couple of different sizes. This happens to be what we call a compact drawer with 7 sections per drawer. But again, you could have 1, 2, 3, etc., all the way up to 7 sections. So you can subdivide these any way you want to. There is also a full size drawer, which has up to 10 sections per drawer. So again, you can subdivide these any way you want to based on the size of the medication. So that is what we call a 3.5 inch or a single wide drawer. So you would pull that item out, you would close your drawer, it would go to the next drawer. This happens to be in what we call a double wide drawer. Again, same thing. It can either have 1 through 7 or 1 through 10 sections, depending on the size of the unit, and does, again, come with the drawer dividers so that you can subdivide these drawers up into different sections based on the medication you're storing. The great thing about these drawers is they are adjustable. So you can move these dividers around as your needs or medications change. These larger drawers obviously are great for larger items, the milk of magnesia cups, syringes, those types of things. You would pull that item out, close that, and then we'll show our last drawer. This last drawer happens to be what we call a lidded drawer. So this is for single item access. So when that drawer comes fully open, that lid pops open, you now only have access to that one item. This particular size is what we call a double lid. There are also single size lid and triple size lids. So this particular drawer has two double lids. So in a compact drawer like we have here, you can put up to four of the singles, two doubles, or a triple and a single in the compact. In the full depth unit, you can have up to six open slots. So you could have, for example, six of the singles, three of the doubles, two of the triples, or again, some combination thereof that adds up to six. For example, a triple, a single, and a double could fit in that drawer as well. But again, the nice thing about these, they're individual item access. So you only have access to one item at a time. These are particularly popular, as you can imagine, for things like controlled substances. So you would just close that drawer when you're done, close it back up, and goes back to the patient list, and you can pick meds for another patient, and so on and so forth. There are a couple of different options on the drawers, as well as the three I just showed you. We do have a matrix drawer in this cabinet as well. Not very popular in the United States, more in Europe, but we do have that option. And then you can see down at the bottom, there is some bulk storage. This particular unit is what we call a base 30. So it has drawers in the top for up to 30 of these small 3.5-inch drawers. And again, as well as the bulk storage in the bottom. There are smaller and larger units in this too. This is kind of the middle of the road size. There is a base 12 countertop unit, which you can think of it as being cut off right here at these top two rows. So it can have up to 12 drawers. There's also a base 60, a larger unit. So as you can imagine, it has 60 drawers all the way down to the bottom. There's also a base supply unit. So it would have the clear door top and bottom in here. So it'd have two doors in it. So again, we call that a base supply. Those are the four base units. If you want auxiliary units attached to them, you can attach auxiliary units to the base units. This one that I'm standing next to is what we call a combo tower. It's a combination of drawers and bulk storage. This one happens to have 60 drawers at the bottom. You can see the two clear doors on the top. This full-size unit also comes with doors top and bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the clear doors for larger supply items, as well as half supplies. So you can get half supplies. Again, it can either just be the 60 drawers or the clear doors down here. So there's a lot of different options on the hardware. All that information is available on our website. You can download a brochure if you want from there as well. Getting back to the software, when we touched that patient initially, I told you that this was a order screen. In other words, all the orders that have been put in for that particular patient. That isn't the only option you have. So this is what we call a profile view. There is another option. So down here at the bottom, you can override the profile. Let's say pharmacy's closed and you have a medication you want to give that is not on that profile. Again, if you have permission in the software, and we'll talk about that in a minute, then it would show a listing of everything in the machine, both by brand and generic, that you could pull out and give to that patient. So if you wanted the atenolol, for example, you just start typing it in, it goes right to that item if you know it as the other name. So again, it does search brand or generic, which nurses tend to really like as well. The great thing about this is typically the view you are going to see either if you don't have an interface to your pharmacy software vendor, or if that particular machine in the hospital doesn't need an interface. For example, an ER machine typically doesn't have the profile interface, so it would default automatically to that screen with a listing of all the meds. You can then decide how you want to give those meds. For example, if I'm overriding the profile, you can make the machine ask you for a witness to verify that medication. So that's your double check. You may want to turn that feature off for the ER machine where you're just dispensing a medication. That's about it as far as the nursing goes. probably 90% of the time they're going to log in, pick a patient, pick their meds. There are a few other things down here in the bottom left. You could add a new patient, perform an end of shift count, or do a return or waste. And again, there's various options with return and waste. We have waste return drawers, external drawers that you can mount to the back panel of the machine. There's also things like barcode scanners that you can get for the machine as well. So that's about it for the nursing. Let's move into a little bit of the pharmacy functions. Again, this is designed just to be a high level overview. If I were to go into a picture of the cart and go actually into a drawer, you can see there's the drawer with particularly one item in it, the acetaminophen. Every item has a minimum and a maximum in here, as well as a critical low as well. You can also set each drawer at its own security level, high, medium, or low, as well as each operator at high, medium, or low. Typically, you're going to run the restock report from the pharmacy, and then you would pull those medications, come out to the machine, and restock it by hitting this button that says restock. You would touch that button, it would show everything that's fallen below the minimum in the machine. You could then go in, select the item, or if you have a barcode scanner, just scan it. The drawer pops open and it walks you through the restock procedure where it asks you how many you're adding, what the expiry date is of that medication, etc. So very simple to do. The only time you physically have to come to the machine is if you want to put something in it or take something out of it. Everything else you can do remotely. Let's talk quickly about the user. So if I were to go in and look at my settings, modify user, pull up my name, Andy Hicks, there I am. There are 12 user presets in here. And just because they say respiratory therapist, CRN, RN, etc., doesn't mean that's what they have to say for your facility. These are all adjustable. So you can adjust up to 12 users or user group settings, and then you can give the various permission levels. Not going to go through all these, but things like override the profile. In other words, who can override, who can witness, who can return, who can view and resolve discrepancies if there's a narcotic discrepancy. We're not going to go into that level of detail on this one, but again, the machine is tracking that if a narcotic is counted incorrectly. There's that high, medium, or low that we talked about as well. So again, you can set this machine up with respiratory therapy meds, put them at low security, put them in a couple of drawers, set them at low security. They can only get into those drawers. Reports, you can select different reports for different users to pull from. And then different stations. So if you have multiple stations in your facility, you can pick and choose who can and cannot get into each station. So again, relatively self-explanatory. Reporting, not going to go through all the reports. We just don't have enough time in this quick overview, but you can see all the tabs up here. Probably the most common one are things like the restock report. That's the most common. I'll just preview that quickly so you can see it. But this is what you would run typically from the pharmacy to see what needs to be restocked in the machine. There are user reports, top usage, transaction reports, which is really nice, and then custom. So you can come in here and choose whatever fields you want in a custom report. You can name that and save it. So again, all this data is available for you. Everything that's happened with the machine, it's recording. That information is also exportable too. Into Excel, we can email it to you, various other methods you can pull that data from if you want further manipulation of it. And then the last item, station and system. You've heard me talk throughout this brief demo about how flexible the software is. This is where that flexibility is all set up. Again, not going to go through all these different check boxes, but things like where do you want to waste things? Where do you want to return things? You can get down to the profile. What do you want the profile to look like as far as colors or what information is included in the tile that shows those patients' orders, which is really nice. There's that user access that we talked about earlier where you set up your different user group settings. Global in general. So again, this is all the different check boxes, things like a blind count. We always recommend turning on the blind count for controlled substances, things like automatic sign off, password change interval, temporary users. Again, not going to go through all these, but these are all the little settings in here that you can adjust to meet the needs of your individual facility. And then lastly, feedback. So you can see profile override, you can have different reasons, returns, waste discrepancy, et cetera. So you can adjust all these reasons for any of these scenarios in the software. The thing that people tend to really like about the machine is the software is very easy to use. I always tell people if you can read and have a finger to touch the screen, you can use this machine. So it's extremely user friendly. Again, this was meant just to be a quick little 10-minute overview of the software. If you would like a more detailed presentation, we can do this live so that you can ask questions about the software as well. Just please contact us at Touchpoint Medical. Thank you very much.